Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Gopijana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Yo Radha Giridhari Radhe Jayo Jagannath Jayo Baladev Jaya Subhadra Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Gurudev Jaya Gurudev Jaya Gurudev Jaya Gurudev. Now Sankirtan Jai. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thanks for joining today's class. So we'll start reading from Prabhupada Vidamrita. I would request anyone to please unmute their mic and please read from Prabhupada Vidamrita, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Sometimes people would take it as a challenge and would try to have a verbal battle with the Swami. The audience attention would then swing to the disturbing individual, the person who was grabbing the spotlight. Sometimes it was very difficult. I used to sit there and wonder, how is he going to handle this guy? This one is really a problem. But Swamiji was hard to defeat. Even if he couldn't convince the person, he convinced the other person in the other people in the crowd so that the energy of the room would change and would tend to quiet the person. Swamiji would win the audience by showing them that this person did not know what he was talking about, and the person would feel the vibrations of the room change, that the audience was no longer listening or believing his spell, and so the person would shut up. So Swamiji would remove the audience rather than the person. He would do it without crushing the person. He would do it by superior intelligence, but also with a lot of compassion. When I saw him do these things, then I realized that he was a great teacher and a great human being. He had the sensitivity not to injure a person physically or emotionally, so that when the person sat down and shut up, he wouldn't be doing it in defeat or anger. He wouldn't be hurt. He would just be outwitted by the Swami. Even while translating in the privacy of his room, Srila Prabhupada was interrupted by disturbances. Once police cars and ambulances, sirens screaming, lights flashing, converged beneath his window after the Hells Angels had started a fight in the digger store in the next building. On another occasion, about 1:30 a.m., while Prabhupada was dictating teachings of Lord Chaitanya, a girl repeatedly knocked and called at Prabhupada's door. At first, he ignored the interruption. Since his arrival in San Francisco, he had completed many pages for this important book. Lord Chaitanya's discussions with Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, Ramananda Rai, and others explored many Krishna conscious topics mentioned only briefly in Bhagavad Gita. In the West, almost no one knew about these teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and now Srila Prabhupada intended to compile these teachings in one volume, providing the most complete presentation of Bhakti Yoga ever introduced in English. Such a book would give great substance to the Krishna conscious movement. But now his solitary concentration was being interrupted by a knocking at his door and a woman's voice calling. Getting up from his desk, Prabhupada went to the front room but did not open the door. Who is there? A young woman answered, I want to speak to you. Come back later in the morning, Prabhupada told her. He knew that in San Francisco, just as in New York, he would not always be able to write peacefully. Preaching in America meant having to tolerate just this, a crazy call in the middle of the night, tearing one away from ecstatic concentration on the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. The lost souls of Haight Ashbury, with their illusions of knowledge, their cries for help, their arrogant challenges, pulled his attention away from his mission of translating and commenting on the scriptures. Now, alone in his apartment, speaking through the locked door, Prabhupada told his intruder that he had work to do and that she should go away. He promised he would see her later that day. He was ready to speak with the hippies all day, but the early morning hours were the special time for his literary work. Preaching face to face to the conditioned souls was important. He had come here to preach, but he had picked these early hours to speak intimately to the whole world through his books without disturbance. The girl, however, continued pounding and calling until Prabhupada finally opened the door. There, standing in the hallway, he saw a teenage hippie with a glassy stare and deranged appearance. He asked her what she wanted. She remained tensely silent. Speak, he told her. She stepped into his room. He saw her helpless, a victim in the ocean of Maya, and he asked her repeatedly what she wanted. Finally, the girl stared at him with widened eyes and exclaimed, Look, Mahaula, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Thank you so much, Mataji. Let's start with the invocation prayer. Narayanam namaskrityam naram shaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jaya udiryate nashtraprayusha bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttame shloke bhaktir bhavat neshtiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we'll be reading from Canto 4, Chapter 29, Shloka number 49. And the topic is talks between Narada and King Vachanabhari. The shloka is, I'll go word by word first, and then we're going to go for the shloka. Ashtre Dharbiha Prak agriha krishchena kshiti mandalam stabdha bhrad vadhat mani कर्म न अवश्य न अवश्यै यत् परम तत् करम हरितोषम यत् स विद्या तद मह्यति यया. So I will try to read the shloka. Astre dharbai prag agher krishna kshiti mandalam stabdo brahat bandhmani karma naivasi yat param tat karma haritosham yat sa vidya tanmatirya. Astray darbhai prag agher कर्षेण क्षितिमण्डलं स्तब्धो स्तब्धो बृहद्वन्दरमणि वन्द वन्दमणि कर्माणावसि यत्परं तत्कर्म हरितोषं यत् सा विद्या तन्मतिर्यया. अष्टैर्दर्भैः प्रगअग्रे क्रास्तेन श्रुतिमण्डलं स्तब्धो बृहद्वन्दनमणि कर्माणावसि यत्परं तत्करं हरितोषं यत् सा विद्या तन्मतिर्यया. Wouldn't you like to try the shloka?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandot Pranam.
Hare Krishna Guruji, please go ahead.
Astiradarpoi prak agrai Krishnena Sishti Mandalam Shabdo Brihad Vadanmani Karma Navi Nava Isha Yat Param Tat Karma Haritosham Yat Sabidya Tanmatirya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I am also trying.
Please, Prabhu.
Astirya darpoi pragedroi kartsnena kshiti mandalam stabdo brihad vadhanmani karmona vaishi yat param tat karma hari tosham yat sha vidya tanmatiraya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji,
Yes, please go ahead, Mataji.
अस्तिर्यदर्भै प्रागग्रही कार्त्स्नेन क्षितिमण्डलं स्तब्धो बृहद्वधान्मानि कर्मणा वैषि यत्परं तत्कर्म हरितोषं यत् सा विद्या तन्मतिर्यया. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, I am also
Hare-
trying.
Please, Mataji.
अस्तिर्दर्भै प्रागग्रै कर्त्स्नेन क्षितिमण्डलम् स्तब्ध बृहत् बधान्मानि कर्माणैव यत्परम् तत्कर्म हरितोषं यत् सा विद्या तन्मतिर्यया. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else would
Hare
like to
Krishna
try?
Prabhuji, Dandavat Prabhu, Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Please.
आस्त्रियादर्भै प्राग अग्रे कारित्स्नेन चितिमण्डलम् स्तब्धो बृहद् स्वाधानमानि कर्मणा वैसि यत् परम् तत्कर्म हरितोषं यत् सा विद्या तन्मतिर्यया. Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you.
Hare Krishna. So we're going to go with word by word translation, word by word meaning, translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Synonyms. Ashritya, having covered. Dharbhai, by Kushagras. Prak Agriha, with the pointing facing east. Kratshena, altogether. Kshiti Mandalam, the surface of the world. Stabdha, proud upstart. Brother, great. Vadhat, by killing. money, thinking yourself very important, karma, activities. Na avasya, you do not know, yat, which, param, supreme, tat, that, karma, activities, haritosham, satisfying the Supreme Lord, yat, which, sa, that, vidya, education, tat, onto the Lord, mati, consciousness, yaya, by which. Translation: My dear king, the entire world is covered with the sharp points of kushagras, and on the strength of this, you have become proud because you have killed various types of animals in sacrifices. Because of your foolishness, you do not know that devotional service is the only way one can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You cannot understand this fact. Your only activities should be those that can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Our education should be such that we can become elevated to Krishna consciousness. Purport: In this verse, the great sage Narada Muni directly insults the king because he was engaged in performing sacrifices that entailed the killing of great number of animals. The king was thinking that he was great for having performed so many sacrifices, but the great sage Narada directly chastised him, informing him that his animal killing only leads to him being puffed up with false prestige. Actually, anything that is done which does not lead to Krishna consciousness is sinful activities. And any education that does not lead to one understand Krishna is false education. If Krishna consciousness is missing, one is simply engaged in false activities and false education pursuits. Invocation prayer. Om Ajnana Tirmandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmitam Yena Chakshur Ulivanatena Tasmai Shri Guruvai Naha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuktapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamischa Shri Rupam Sagrachakam Saguna Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitan Nisha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenbandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we just discussed about 429:49. We're discussing in more detail now. The shloka is Ashre Dharbai Varg Agreh Krishchena Kshiti Mandalam Stabdo Brahad Vandamani Karma Naivasi Yat Param Tat Karam Haritosham Yat Sai Vidya Tan Matir Yaya. My dear king, the entire world is covered with the sharp points of kusha grass. And on the strength of this, you have become proud because you have killed various types of animals in sacrifices. Because of your foolishness, you do not know that devotional service is the only way one can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You cannot understand this fact. Your only activity should be those that can please the Personality of Godhead. Our education should be such that we can become elevated to Krishna consciousness. So in the past not couple, in the past many months, we have heard the story of Puranjan and how Prachandabhari was engaged in material activities by doing yajnas, how he was too much attached to the wife, and indirectly the story, it was an allegory story which represent Prachandabhari. However, after telling all the stories in the previous chapter, Prachanya Bhari said to Narad Muni that whatever he just said, he cannot understand this. Can he elaborate more? Then indirectly, it was an allegory story. Then Narad Muni said, no, this story is related to you. And in this canto, in this particular chapter, what is happening is Prachanya Bhari has said that, this was, I didn't know, but now Narad Muni has explained everything. And still, he said devotional service is the most important. He said, okay, we'll do when my kids are back. So Narad Muni thought, I have experienced so much knowledge has been given from so many last chapters. I'm giving this knowledge, and this guy is again saying that he will do when the kids are back. Devotional service is to be executed spontaneously, it cannot be delayed. It's like it should be very, very fast. It should not be, we should not delay the process of devotional service when especially when a person like Narad Muni is saying this, that devotional service is the only way, that word should be given emphasis. Just like when you see uh, how the Takshak snake bit Parikshit Maharaj. He didn't say, I will be going to do this and this. He said, that's the end, devotional service. That's what he did at the end of his life. 7 nights, 7 days, non-stop, without even drinking water or eating anything. He just got engrossed in just listening to the Bhagavatam Katha. Devotional service is done spontaneously, straight away. Should not be delayed. The more we delay, there's very higher chances of getting entrapped in Maya again. That's exactly what is happening here. So Prachanya Bhari is saying that he will do when the kids are back. So indirectly now Narad Muni has enough. So he's straight away saying, this is what's happening because you're doing so many of yagyas, you're getting puffed up, and you don't understand that devotion was the only way that can please the Lord, not by doing so many yajs, by doing so much of education that you have, or whatever performance that you are doing. So we're going to elaborate this, what the shloka means. So we can see in today's material world, knowledge and yagyas are done so that we can get prosperity. It's not that we can advance in spirituality. So you can see the point when we say about how the shloka start about the kushagras. So kushagras is very, very auspicious. So then the kushagras is used when we are doing the yagyas. Especially in Karam Kanda, this kushagras has been tied in the finger, and you have to do the Agnihotra. You have to do Swaha. So when the Prohit comes to do the yajna, especially Karam Kandi, he generally put the thing on your finger, and he will say, you have to do all these rituals. He's going to ask you what your name is, what your gotra is, what day today is, which is the closest river. Then he will say his own name, which day you're performing the yajna, for what reason you're performing the yajna. And all these, after having getting information from you, he will say his own name, and then he will say, "Now we're going to do the sankalpa," and that's how the karam kand basically the yajnas are done. So basically the yajnas are done for some specific reason. That I am doing this yajna for fill in the blank. I'm doing this yajna for benefit for myself, or some evil eyes on the house, or is a housewarming ceremony, or is XYZ. There has to be specific reason when we do any of the yajnas. There has to be a reason. So Prohit generally asks you, as I said earlier, so he's gonna ask you what is the reason of your yajna, what you want to achieve. So we'll say we are doing this yajna to purify a house, or for purify or this, so that is the main reason. If we tell that Prohit that I want to do a yajna just to please Lord, there's no hetu behind, there's no objective behind my yajna, but I'm just doing yajna to please Lord. The person who's going to do the yajna will get confused completely because that is out of syllabus question for him. How can he please Lord? Because all these yajnas are basically meant for material advancement. So I had a very nice opportunity when His Grace Gokuleshwar Prabhu was here, and we asked him, Prabhuji, do you have any courses that we can do for samskaras? Because there's not that many people who can do samskaras here, especially in Hamilton. There's none. So what can we do so that we can do all these samskaras? And he looked at me and said, why you want to get into it? Why you want to do the samskaras? You have got the biggest samskara, which is you have got biggest yajna that you can do, Sankirtana yajna. Why you want to do the samskaras and all that? Don't get into it. And I said, Prabhuji, but there has to be some, some Agni thing and this. But there are only three yagnis that needs to be done. The three yajnas that needs to be done, which is during the marriage. That's the first thing. Second is when you take a diksha, and the third is when someone passes away. The rituals. That's the last yajna. That's it. You don't need to do all the yajnas and all that. Kri- uh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given the biggest yajnas, Harinam Sankirtana yajna. That's enough. You don't need to do any other samskaras. So that was eye-opening for us. So, so yes. So I realized from here that there's because we got so many samskaras, we are entangled, into we have to do this ritual, and also at the same time, prohits who are doing the samskaras, they have to tell them this is very important. You have to do this because that's their ruji roti. So they can't say, oh, you can't just do Harinam Sankirtan. So until and unless the Purohit who is doing the yajna is a Vaishnava, he will just tell you to do the Harinam Sankirtan. That's the best. You don't need to do all those samskaras. So just Agni, all Harinam Sankirtan is the best. Is the best. And also at the same time, our education is such that we from if you see this photograph where the small kid is learning ABC, then he get a little bit older, then he start learning 1 2 3, then he sits in the higher education 12th, then he does his bachelor's, then he does PhD. So he has gained the knowledge, he has become say for example renowned scientist, but as soon as he leaves the body, he has to start everything from scratch again. He will learn ABC again. He will go to school. He will give he will get 10 plus 2. Then he will go in bachelor's. Then he will do PhD again. He leaves the body and he starts again. ABC, junior, 12th, BSc, PhD. Dies again. Same thing again. So it goes in cycle again and again and again and again. So the question should be asked, what's the point of having such education that is not delivering us from this body? So education should be such that we should understand who we are, why are we here, and how should we get free from this material world. That's the real education. That's the real knowledge. Otherwise, what we are doing, we are just chewing the chew basically. वही चीज हम बार बार कर रहे हैं, again and again and again and again, same thing going in circle. So whether we are doing the yajnas or whether we are doing the education, we are just repeating ourselves. So even after we doing the yajnas, what's the motive of yajnas? That our sinful reaction should be eradicated, basically. And we go to the heavenly planets. For what? To enjoy, to have somras, to have apsaras. And same thing happens in Quran as well. I think they said that 72 hure milenge, Same thing, all material enjoyment. So we are doing the yajnas to get material benefit. We are doing education so that we can earn money in this life, enjoy ourselves, and when we leave the body, we come back again. Similarly, when we are doing yajna, we go to higher planets if all of the sins are gone. And once all the sins are when all the good activities have been done, the result of good activities are done, what happens? We come back again to this material world and start the whole cycle again of studying, doing yajna, and doing this, leave the body and do the same thing again. So that's a repeated cycle. So we need to ask ourselves, if this is the wrong way, then what's the right way? What's the best of the all yajnas? What's the real knowledge? What should we do? Right? So that should be our that's kind of question is called a self-realization. So in Bhagavad Gita, there's in the 13th chapter from 8 to 12, Krishna tells us about the real knowledge. Can anyone unmute their mic and please read this translation, please, for me?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Please, Mataji, go ahead.
humility, pridelessness, inviolence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home, and the rest, even mindness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge. And besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. So Krishna says very nicely what the real knowledge is. And apart from this, what is not knowledge? So after explaining these 20 elements of knowledge, Krishna says at the end, the last two lines of 12th shloka says, Etad jnana iti proktam. All these, what I've explained, is knowledge, right? And uske baad, and the next and the last line says, Ajnanam yad ato anyatatha. That is, all beside this is ignorance, basically. So this is the real knowledge. So if you go to schools, your school studies, your education won't won't will not teach us what humility is, how to develop humility. It won't teach you self-control. School subjects won't teach us how to renunciate your life, how to overcome false ego, how to get away from, how to free from the cycle of birth, death, old age, disease. That is the real knowledge. I mean, all whatever we are studying, whether you're doing bachelor in science, diploma, uh, PhD, they are just going to take you that will entrap you in this material world only. That won't take you to the main objective of life. So this is the real knowledge which Krishna is saying in chapter 13 from 8 to 12. And this knowledge can be attained only from three aspects, only from three sources, which is Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. They are the only three persons where you get the real knowledge. As Bhagavad Gita says, you need to approach your spiritual master and ask them submissively and render services. Tadviti pratipatena pri-prashnena sevaya upadakshanti te jnanam jnanis tattva taddarshina. Because all these three, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, not only they know the truth, but they have seen the truth as well. They will impart you the knowledge as it is. So that is the most important. That's what the knowledge is all about. Knowledge is not meant for upgrading ourselves. Knowledge is for upgrading from this level of consciousness to the high level of consciousness. That is the real knowledge. And same thing happened with the yajnas as well. So if we ask what's the purpose of yajna, can anyone like to read the translation or the shloka as well?
Hare Krishna.
Please go ahead, Prabhuji.
In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigod, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, Be thou happy by this yagna, sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you every thing desirable for living happily and achieving liberation.
Thank you. So we need to understand the material purpose of yajna is to materially is purpose of the yajna is, as I said earlier, to eradicate all sinful reactions and to go to the higher planet. So eventually, all these designations are for enjoyment only. Whether you go to higher planets, whether you go to Swargloka or Taploka, everything is for enjoyment only. But we need to understand the purpose of doing the yajna. Who is the real enjoy? We doing all this yajna to enjoy ourselves, right? Basically, if we get this yajna, we'll get more money. If we do this yajna, we'll get less. We will eradicate our sinful reaction. We'll go to higher planets. So why we do want to go to higher planets? To enjoy, not to serve anyone. We are going to the higher planets to enjoy. If we do this, yet we'll get more money. What are we going to do with the more money? We're going to enjoy. That is the main purpose of doing the material yajna. But Shastra says something else. The enjoyer is someone else. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 5.29, Bhoktaram yagatapsam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatvam mam shantim richati. That is the purpose of doing the yajna. We need to understand who is the Bhoktaram. Is Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that a person who is full consciousness of me, knowing me as the ultimate benefactor of all the sacrifices. So he should know the benefit of all the sacrifices is someone else, not me. I should not be enjoying from this yajna. We should please someone else so that he can, put a mercy on us. So Krishna is the main benefactor. He's the main person who is the person who can take, all our what do you call when we do swaha, everything goes to Krishna. He's the main person who is the enjoyer, not us. So Srila Prabhupada has explained in that Krishna has created this world, and the jivas could learn how to perform the sacrifices, yajna sacrifices, and the purpose is to please Lord Vishnu. And by doing this, what happens after leaving? Once we leave the body, we go back to Godhead. So that's the main purpose of doing the yajna, is to go back to Godhead, not so that we can go to the higher planets, enjoy, and come back again. So yajna means basically for Vishnu, and the sacrifices that we do is meant to please him. That's the purpose of yajna. And in the Vedas, there are different kind of yajnas as explained. Even in Mahabharata, we can see the Ashwamedh yag, the Rajsuri yag, and nowadays we got different kind of yajna there. We are doing yajna for Shanti, we got to Sudarshan yajna, we do this yag, that yag. So many yajna are there, but ultimately everything goes to Vishnu. He's the main. He's the approver. So even if you're doing yajna for your prosperity or anything materially, it has to be sanctioned by Lord Vishnu anyway. He's the ultimate approver. So like how we apply for leaves when you're on a higher when you're on a higher post, when you apply leave, not only the person or your boss going to approve, he has to consult his boss as well. That this person is going to leave after this. Because he's on that role, he will have at least 10 to 15 people under him who will be reporting to someone else, during that period of time. So he has to take double approval when we go on leave. Similarly, when the demigod has to approve something, they can't approve by themselves. It has to be sanctioned by the main authority, that is Krishna. When Krishna approves it, things get fulfilled for us. So we're going to see in the next slide, we know how many yajnas are there. We know the purpose of yajna. So what is the best of all the yajnas? It comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam Eva Kevalam. Kalo nashte eva nashte eva nashte eva gathiranyatha. In this age of Kali, there is no other way for spiritual perfection than the holy name, the holy name of the Lord. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has introduced the easiest yajna of all time called as Sankirtana Yajna, which involves chanting and spreading of Krishna's name. Simple and easy, most easy way of doing the yajna. We don't need any what do you call any samagri for that. We don't need to do any extra endeavor for that. All you need is Harinam Sankirtan. That's it. Nothing else is required. And best thing is, we don't need any prohit for doing this. Anyone can do it. Anyone who is doing japa, who is Krishna conscious can do this. It's very easy. And what we have to do? We have to help others. Chant the holy name. That's it. You will get the best benefit of the whole world. Krishna will be very pleased. Just like in yajna, you need samagris, you need other different elements, right? But for doing the Sankirtan yajna, you have only got two things that you need. One is your dedication and sincerity. That's it. You don't need anything else. Krishna will look at your sincerity and how serious you are. That's all requirement for the Sankirtan yajna is. In the Vedic scripture, it says that in Kali Yuga, simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, people can achieve the same result which was obtained by meditating in Satya Yuga, by doing the performance of sacrifices in Treta Yuga, and by doing the deity worship in Dwapar Yuga. The same result can be obtained by doing the Harinam Sankirtan Yajna in this Kali Yuga. And Srimad Bhagavatam also state the same thing. Then in this age of Kali, there's only one yajna which should be performed, or the sacrifice, which comes from the shloka, yagna sankirtana praher yajanti hi yajanti hi sumedataha. So what does it say? The best type of sacrifice is simply chanting the holy name of the Lord in this age of Kali, which is Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram,
Ram
Hare Hare.
Ram, Hare Hare.
So this is not the mantra. That's what it says. That's why it's called as Maha Mantra. Mantra means the one which can transform our mind from who can deliver us from the cycle of birth and death. Mantra, man ko tarne wala, from the cycle of birth and death. That is called mantra. But this is called as Maha Mantra because this straight away delivers you, which not only delivers you from um, the cycle of birth and death, but also gives you the love of Godhead. That's called as Maha Mantra. There are many mantras, but this is called as a Maha Mantra. So people may argue, that why Sankirtana Yajna is the best. We can do something else. We can do some other names. We can do um, we can do Om Namah Shivaya. We can do some other mantras. There are many mantras. Our scriptures is full of mantras, but why only Krishna's name? Why only Rama's name? Why only Hare Krishna Mahamantra's name? We'll look into that part as well. So why Sankirtana Yajna is the best? Can anyone read the shloka, the translation for me, please?
Krishna is absolute. Therefore, there is no difference between him and his name. There is no difference between him and his form. There is no difference between him and his picture. There is no difference between him and his topics. Anything about Krishna is Krishna. This is called absolute knowledge. So either you chant Krishna's name or you worship Krishna's form. Everything is Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is why Sankirtana Yajna is the best, because what you're doing is you are not only chanting Krishna's name, you are seeing Krishna, you are with Krishna. When you chant Krishna's name, Krishna is dancing on your tongue. Nama Chintamani Krishna. Krishna is non-different from his name. That's why it's so powerful. That's why wherever you're doing deity worship, you are serving Krishna directly. When you are seeing his picture, you're serving Krishna directly. When you're seeing Krishna's photograph, you are seeing actually who Krishna is. So anything which is related to Krishna, anything which is in relation to Krishna is Krishna. That's what the shloka means. Anything about Krishna is Krishna. The third line in the middle, from the bottom. Anything about Krishna is Krishna. Especially this mantra, which is given by Lord Himself. It's not given by Krishna, it's given by Lord, it's given by Lord Himself, who came in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And He gave us this. Chant this name, and you will come back to me. What other assurity we need other than this? That God Himself has come and told us, He has given us the answer of everything. If you want to get free from this material world, chant my name. Simple as that. You don't need to do any yagyas. You don't need to have any superficial knowledge. Just chant my name with two things. He said, sincerity and seriousness. That's all we need in us to do this Harinam Sankirtan Yajna. Then people may say, what if there are any rules and regulations performing the Yajna? Would anyone like to read the translation for rules for performing the Sankirtan Yajna?
There may be discrepancies in pronouncing the mantras and observing the regulative principles. And moreover, there may be discrepancies in regard to time, place, person, and paraphernalia. But when your Lordship's holy name is chanted, everything becomes faultless.
Jai.
Krishna.
So when we chant holy name, we don't need to do after doing all when we do arti in the temple, right? When we do anything during the yajna, when we do anything which is when we do any paraphernalia activities involved in temple, what we do at the end, mantra hinam kriya hinam bhakti hinam janardana. We say this, for saying kuch galti hogi to please Bhagwan ji maaf karna. But here what we say, the shlokas from Srimad Bhagavatam, with the last line, but when your lordship holy names is chanted, everything becomes faultless. That's the end. Everything becomes faultless. So if someone is chanting Krishna, someone is saying Krishna, someone is saying Krishna, doesn't really matter. Krishna is bhavgrahi. He doesn't look at the intricacies, how you're chanting, where you're chanting. He is looking your seriousness. He is looking your how sincerely you're doing, how seriously you are doing. That's what is needed. People may say, I'm in New Zealand, I'm in Hamilton, I'm not in Holy Dham. Doesn't really matter. Krishna's name can be chanted anywhere. In the previous slide, we saw anything related to Krishna is Krishna. We don't need to think that we have to go in Holy Dham and then we will chant nicely. You can chant here as well. As all as it says here. There may be discrepancies in regards to time, place, person, paraphernalia. Person may be handicapped. Person may be, having bipolar disorder. Could be anything. You're not in the right place. You may be in different. Um, we give excuses. Why can't you do this? Probably because time, place, circumstances. But for chanting, there's no rules and regulations. There's nothing you can do chanting at any place at any time without any restrictions. You can chant, except obviously not in bathroom though. But yeah, that's different. But yeah, but you can chant holy name anywhere, and that's what it says. Lordship name can be chanted anywhere, and everything becomes faultless. That's the power of chanting the holy name. And apart from that, that's the Sankirtan Yajna that we have to do. So even if you are celebrating someone's birthday, if you are celebrating the housewarming, if you're doing anything, just chant the holy name. That's the biggest yajna that we can do in this material world. So we ask ourselves, so what we did learn from today's shloka? The purpose, what we learned today is that occupational activities a man perform according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message, for the personality of Godhead. Shramhi eva kevalam. We need to understand that we have different and more important purpose of life. That is called as self-realization. Now, this means understanding that I am not this body, I am a spiritual soul. And the first knowledge that is given is in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, that we are a spirit soul, we are not this body. And my purpose in this life is to achieve spiritual knowledge and go back to Godhead. That is our knowledge. That is called as self-realization. And that's what Bhagavad Gita starts from chapter 2. And our activities such as eating, mating, sleeping, defending, which is in the shloka, it says ahar nidra bhay maithuna, right? The same as animals. We are not different from animal. But there's one thing really important, which is dharmahina. Only if we're not following the dharma, we are what? Two-legged animals. Only the difference is we have to ask logical reasoning. If we have given this birth is to understand who we are, why are we here in the first place, and how we can go back to Godhead. If we are not inquiring this in this birth, we have taken birth, it's called as Shramhi Eva Kevalam. No matter how much knowledge we have got, no matter how much money we have got, no matter how much yajna we have done, if we cannot have attraction towards Krishna, we cannot chant Krishna's name, if we can't go back to Godhead, this life is simply wasted. That's what the whole shloka comes out to be. Shramhi eva kevalam. If we haven't got attraction for Krishna, Shramhi eva kevalam. And repeatedly in Bhagavad Gita, and many where Krishna has elaborately says devotional service the only way. And Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, many other books has said, without devotional service, all other methods of spiritual self-realization are weak and insignificant. Unless one comes to the devotional service of Lord Krishna, Jnana Yoga cannot give the desired result. So our motive is to please Lord. And Bhagavad, as I said earlier, Srila Prabhupada in many translations from, especially in Bhagavad Gita from chapter 2 till chapter 18, has many times explained only by devotional service can one know God. Only by devotional service supreme truth can be known. Only by devotional service Krishna can be pleased. The supreme Lord can be appreciated only by devotional service, and he can be seen and understood by devotional service only. And in the 18th chapter, Krishna himself says in Shloka 55, Bhakta Mam Abhijanati, only by devotional service one can know me. And the devotional service is what? Chanting the holy name. There's no hard and fast rule. Simple and short and easy. Chanting the holy name is devotional service. All whatever you are doing needs to be given to Krishna so that he can be pleased. That's the main offering for to the Lord. So I'll rest my class here. If you have any questions or add-ons, please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Such a
Dandavat Pranam,
beautiful and elaborated, but in a very brief way, you have tried to get our understanding clear that what is the meaning of yajna itself, and the example you have given that, and how people are asking for somebody take bath or somebody has the housewarming and so on. They ask for this some yagna. Even I also face the same thing, but I used to tell them there is only one yagna, that is Nam Sankirtan. You do that one by yourself or with a group of people or devotee, it's the same result you can obtain. There is no other yagna required, no fire sacrifice, no calling of hundreds of people, uh, bringing this, that, nothing is required. Simply some flowers, water, leaves, and fruits to the Lord, and do the kirtan. That will serve all the purposes. That finally, that family agreed to do so, and then we had this what is Harinam Sankirtan Yagna, and within half an hour everything was done. So it is not a time consuming or a long preparation, this and that, hassling and bustling from right from the morning till the occasion is done. So people were very easygoing. And then I asked, do you feel anything different? He said, "Oh, yeah, it's very, very simple." I said, this is how Shastras teaches us. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given this instrument to us to apply in each and every cases wherever needed. You don't need to decorate everything. Only you have to decorate your mind with a systematic way to make it prepared to accept this mantra. That's the yagna. You don't need to call hundreds of people making such arrangement, so much of money involved, this, that, nothing is required. Only your sincerity in chanting the holy name is the yagna. That is what the substance of the subject matter. And, and this is how we often face the challenges in what should I say, in making them understand what is so simple, because it is so simple, people take it very lightly, or may not be it is complete, and they become puzzled. Is it true? So we need to take hard on it to make them understand from different angle, so that they get convinced and do the same thing in a very simple and a constructive way, and they will become satisfied. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for wonderful class. Really enjoyed all the so many nice references, so many sloka references you had given, and very very nicely elaborated the meaning of the shloka. So thank you so much for that, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavut Pranam.
Hare Krishna
Just
Mataji.
remind me again that Hare Namaiva Kevalam. Yeah, you nicely described with so much reference, so many references, and what is the real knowledge. Yes, Prabhu, thank you. Yeah, you reminding me again about that. That Jagna is the Sankirtan. This is the Mahamantra. Nothing else to be done. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes.
Hare
Because I was like that only, Mataji. Anytime anything happens, we need to do the yajna. We need to do the yajna. But we just forget the essence. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given the Nam Sankirtana yajna. Nothing can be better than that. So, yes.
Yeah, sometimes I think, I have to do that. But when we listen like this, no, this is the only yagna we have to do.
Yes.
Thank you,
Yes.
Prabhu. Yeah,
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Abhay Prabhuji, if there is none, we can.
It looks like
Yes,
no
yeah,
one.
Prabhuji, it appears there's no other person to make comments, so it may be concluded class. Thank you very much for the very nice class. Vancha kalpataru.
Kalpataruभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च
Hare
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय हिज ग्रेस चित्र कृष्ण प्रभु की जय
Jai.
the Prabhupada ki jai Gaur Premanande
Hari
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 Bol
Bol.
all glories to assembled devotees Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna.